my heart is totally in love with AI for drug discovery. I think we've been waiting for such a long time for it to really take off, and I know that the time is here. What it is it turns your data set or your information into a nice write-up that is going to be used for FDA submission.
Wow.
That process can take months and years.
The FDA, on the other side, I feel like they're still going by hand and reading the 800-page documents. They might have to start using some tools to help on the other side. Today, I'm speaking with Vanloan Nguyen, the founder and CEO of Berkeley Pharmatech. What she's building is more than a company. It's a community where scientists can learn, collaborate, and grow into entrepreneurs. Her mission is to help launch 100 biotech startups in the next decade. And our conversation dives deep into her journey, the mindset shift from scientist to founder, and how AI and collaboration can speed up discovery.
Hi, Christopher. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm calling in from Berkeley, California, where Berkeley Pharmatech is based. It's just so good to see you in person after all this correspondence, and good to be here.
You can just start by telling us a little bit of your story and how you started off, as a scientist. And I always think that's a good thing for young people to hear, is how you transitioned into the world of entrepreneurship, and then how you're at the place you're at now, and then what you're up to at Berkeley Pharmatech.
I started out working at a lab in Sunnyvale called Panorama Research Institute. And at the time, I was on the pre-med track. I was aiming for medical school. And I thought, being the goal-oriented person that I was back then, I thought, well, I need to do all these activities, including working at a lab, so that my resume can be impressive for medical school. And I really wanted to be accepted on the first round. So with that said, I worked there for a few years. I met a really wonderful person, my mentor, who's also the CEO of the lab. And he was very encouraging and kind of pushing me towards medical school. But he also said, medical school is very competitive. Why don't you think about a second plan, a backup plan? And when he proposed a backup plan, I thought, what a horrible idea. I'm never going for this backup plan. I don't need a backup plan. I'm just going to go for medical school. I'm going to be accepted, and I will study and then have my dream life. And that will be that. And it turned out he was right in that I needed a backup plan, not because I eventually got accepted into medical school, but by then there were some considerations I needed to make, one of which was that I needed to move to another state to attend medical school. And that did not sit well with me at the moment, even though I interviewed at the school, everything was going well. They liked me, I liked them. But then I thought, there are disabled people in my family. If I leave the state and not see them for 4 or 5 years, who know how long it's going to be, maybe that's not going to be such a good thing for them. So in the end, I decided to stay in California, and I was just looking around for things that I can do to contribute to the medical community. And luckily, my mentor, who has been coaching me all these years, he said, why don't you join Life Science Angels? We need investment analysts there. You can just work with us, interview founders who are applying for investments. And the name is Life Science Angels, so we focus on biotech in particular, and maybe you will like it. And I reluctantly accepted. I thought, okay, I will give it a try. At the same time, I was also working for my master's degree at Johns Hopkins University. And I thought, well, I'll work in the daytime, I'll study at night, and it should be okay. I fell in love with the world of entrepreneurship. I didn't realize that there was this whole other world out there aside from healthcare and treating patients, having a good heart and doing all the good stuff that you're supposed to do. I thought, wow, entrepreneurship is so eye-opening, and it's amazing to see all these determined founders coming in. Sometimes they don't have much. They just have a technology that they're working to develop. They don't really have enough funding to fund the project by themselves or anything like that, but they were really determined to see this through. And just interacting with them on a day-to-day basis was an eye-opener. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't imagine living my life without entrepreneurship. And so an interesting thing happened. Alan Northrop, a PhD from Life Science Angels, reached out to me, and he said, well, I'm thinking about doing this startup. Would you like to join me as a co-founder? And I was really looking around to see, is he talking to me, like including me? I was just so surprised. And even though we've worked at Life Science Angels together before and knew each other from before, but I was just in total shock when he invited me. To make a long story short, I accepted. And for a few months, we were working together, putting together, we were looking to spin out technology from Lawrence Livermore Labs in pathogen testing. And just a word about Alan Northrop, if you haven't heard of him, he's actually one of the co-founders of Cepheid. So it was a unicorn that went IPO and then got acquired for $4 billion. Alan Northrop is a very successful serial entrepreneur. And of course, so there was this, dynamics happening at the time that I started to work with Alan. I was like, are you sure you want me as co-founder, really? And he's like, yeah, let's just work together. The journey was actually pretty challenging. I was really naive. I thought, well, there's this wonderful person with extensive expertise in the right space. We have technologies that's backed by Lawrence Livermore Labs, and the PI at that lab seems to be agreeable. So it seems like the stars are aligned. Little did I know that the road was really challenging. So what happened was the startup didn't take off, much to my chagrin. And it mostly has to do with founders having different visions for where they want the company to go. And so aside from myself, there's also the PI who wanted to come on board. And then there's also another vetted CEO in the biotech space who wanted to become co-founder. And so within this experience, during and after I exited, I thought, oh my gosh, I was in this dream world with this dream team, and still the startup didn't take off. So that means that it takes, even for serial entrepreneurs, it takes many, many, many tries for them to get something that is successful. And I should never underestimate the hard work that goes into startup anymore. So that was my inspiration for starting Berkeley Pharma. That was around the time when COVID-19 came. We have basically exited this other startup with Alan. And I was thinking, you know what? Because it takes so many tries for a startup to become successful, I want to basically build a platform at Berkeley Pharma where founders can come, meet and work, and then launch 100 startups within 10 years' time. And the reason behind that ambition is because, well, in biotech, there's a lot that goes into it. There's the expertise of the founders, how well they get along with one another, how vetted the technology is, and so on and so forth. But also, it's a numbers game. Obviously, if you have ever been on the investment side, we look at those numbers pretty hard. And I have talked to other angel investment firms as well, and the numbers basically come out similar to ours at Life Science Angels. So because of that, I thought, well, okay, let's just play the numbers game. Let's encourage as many founders in biotech, even those who are scientists and are aspiring entrepreneurs, to come and work, and let's see what comes out of it. And obviously, as investors, we're all looking for that next unicorn. And biotech is the same. We're all aiming for that unicorn. The financial rewards of it is one thing, but in life science especially, we're looking for cures and treatments that's going to benefit patients and the rest of the world. So that is the big aim.
That's good to have that as the mission and the foundation at the beginning. I'm just going back to that first initial, you said, which I feel like happens quite often. Different founders have different ideas of direction, or, when you were in your first experience, what's the biggest takeaway or lesson you feel like that you gained from that that helps you now in your current role?
Education is an absolute must. And even for serial entrepreneurs, they're learning new things every day. Every time they start a new venture, yes, they're taking the experience that they've had and infuse it into the next endeavor. But that is not the end all. Everything has to come back to education. Everyone has to basically leverage what they know and come together at the table and collaborate. And that is not an easy thing to do. People tend to like to work in silos. If you're a scientist, you like to work with other scientists who understand what asystole means, or so some extremely complex concept, or something that they're working, gaining more insights on. On the investor side, investors like to work with other investors because again, we understand each other and where we're coming from, and we have the same goals. But in biotechnology in particular, like so many different types of people with different types of expertise need to come together to get a startup to be successful. So that was my big takeaway from my experience with the first startup that I ever did. And it was that even serial entrepreneurs needed help. That was a big thing for
Yeah.
me. I did not realize that, well, of course, these are all millionaires and they have been successful. And I just took it for granted that they knew what to do. And actually, that is not true. So in biotech, the playing field is special in that first-time founders can make it. People with grit, people with determination, sometimes a little bit of luck involved, but for the most part, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of determination. So yeah, that is my big takeaway.
And then I noticed a couple of recent conferences that you've attending, and obviously this is a big thing out there for everybody with AI, conversations around AI and how you see that functioning within the biotech space. And I guess there's things that you're excited about with the potential with AI integration within this space, and then maybe some of the potential pitfalls that you're witnessing or seeing out there.
My take is that there's AI and then there's AI. There's kind of like the .com back then where people just put AI into the name of the company and hoping for that big round of investment to come. In biotech, I'm really excited about AI for drug discovery. This has been a long time coming. Way back then, about 10 years ago or so, my mentor was working for his startup, and his startup was VC backed, and they had enough funding for extravagant machine learning and AI add-ons for their projects. So they partnered up with Atomwise, which was, I think, just launched and looking for partners. My mentor had so many complaints about that partnership. Not that it didn't work. I mean, the startup was really successful. It got acquired, et cetera, et cetera. And even so, my mentor was not pleased in that he said, these guys at Atomwise, they're just, I mean, yes, they have machine learning and they're looking at protein pockets and all this complicated stuff. But at the end of the day, they have the chemists sit down and evaluate the feedback or the suggestions that AI is making. And he's saying, it's not working yet. It's not working yet. Why don't we just work with people, with chemists, just go straight to the chemists and ask them questions instead of going through AI. And so anyway, fast forward to where we are now, my heart is totally in love with AI for drug discovery. So there are lots of different startups out there that are launching and working right now. I think one of the things that they're facing, investors are getting really wise about which AI works and which doesn't.
Yeah.
and for biotech specifically, they demand that the data sets that we feed into AI has to be trustworthy, has to come from a source that's reliable. Of course, the data sets can sometimes come in a little bit raw. It needs to be reformatted, et cetera, so that AI will take it and then be trained on those data sets. Because of that, the quality of the data sets for these AI in drug discovery startups are very valuable, and they try really, really hard to get a hold of them. The works are ongoing. I'm really excited to see what comes of it. It's still, lots of these startups are still in the early stages right now. As you may know, Google has a stake in all of this. They have a branch that also works on drug discovery, and not AlphaFold in particular. They have another startup under their wings, but all the big guys are working in this space, and so are the startup founders. And I think it's just a wonderful time for this to happen. I think we've been waiting for such a long time for it to really take off, and now that the time is here, I can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. I mean, I think there's just so much innovation possible right now. And at the same time, it feels like I'm meeting people like you who are getting really creative because usually the barrier to entry within this space was so challenging. You had so many young scientists or entrepreneurs that the pathway to actually get something to market in biotech and medtech was just a really long process. I feel like you had a lot of ideas that were amazing that were never getting out there because it's just a lot of young people just weren't able to see a pathway to get those out there. So that excites me about just even AI with the possibility to help with a 510K submission or sending in FDA clearance. I feel like that was one of the topics that was discussed at one of the conferences that you were at recently. Is that right? Like just about submission help with that too? I mean, how do you foresee it working within that that aspect of it. There's one thing which I feel like is the machine learning and the data, and then there's another thing I feel like which is helping out with gathering some of the submission, the process as well. Just I could see it being helpful.
I think you're talking about the Sinai launch party where I had a speaking engagement, and so yes, Sinai is a company that's working at the intersection of AI and biotech, and they're looking to slash time to market for biotech companies. Okay, I'm not going to do it justice to describe what it is they're working on. I have seen the demo, and basically what it is it turns your data set or your information into a nice write-up that is going to be used for FDA submission.
Wow.
And that process can take months and years. You're looking at scientists laboriously going over the data sets and doing all these write-ups. And the FDA submission is very laborious, very meticulous. Sometimes the submission can be as big as 800 pages. So we're
Yeah.
talking the size of 4 novels
Yeah.
for one submission.
Not a fun one to write either. Not like an enjoyable.
Well, it
That's
might be
the
fun
book
for
that you.
scientists.
Oh yeah, I guess it's not me. It might be fun for them. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in this space, I can foresee that the cost savings and the time saving that AI is going to bring into the industry is going to be phenomenal. And not just Sinai, but other companies are working in the same vein. And yeah, looking forward to a new day when things are accelerated and scientists can focus more on their work in the lab as opposed to doing the admin.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that's all aspects up in medicine and the creation of technology. Yeah, utilizing AI as a tool to help, yeah, accelerate innovation, in all aspects. However, we can do that. The FDA on the other side, I feel like I was having a conversation. They're going to have to catch up on the other side because I feel like they're still going by hand and reading the 800-page documents. They might have to start using some tools to help on the other side. So, but I'm sure that'll help at some point. Yeah, I guess is what excites you most about just the current landscape and your startup with Berkeley Pharmatech. Like, yeah, what are you excited about in the next 5 years with this landscape? Like both with like we've touched a little bit on AI, but also just with what you're all doing there and what you see as the future to accelerate innovation in this space. And where would you like to
Yeah.
be? I know you said in 10 years, and like, what was it? In 10 years, 100 companies, but what about in 5 years?
Yeah, some things that I'm really excited about in biotech, aside from AI, is genetic editing and genetic engineering. I think that there are a few selected cures out there using genetic editing, and that is completely new territory. And I think those few successes are going to open up the way for more founders and more technologies to come forward. As you may have heard of CRISPR, that came out of UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley is my alma mater, and I'm very proud of my school.
Yeah.
Very proud of the team that worked with Dudna to have this technology be available to founders and scientists. That is something that I'm really excited about and looking forward to more cures. I think that as somebody working in biotech, we're all aiming for that next cure or that next treatment. And well, as you may know, patients are lining up for clinical trials. They're hoping to try something novel, something that's going to help ease the burden of their disease. Think of Parkinson's disease or arthritis or some kind of chronic conditions. We don't really have cures for those conditions yet. And we continue to try. We continue to push forward. Of course, in biotech, there are those who are working in Medtech, innovating in health tech, using AI as a layer to add to robotics and surgery and things like that. And those are all very impressive work. And I think for myself, in the next 5 years or so for Berkeley Pharmatech, I really want to aim for that next cure that's going to alleviate the pain for a lot of patients.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, CRISPR is really exciting to me too. Super curious, like the different directions that can go to keep tabs with that. I didn't realize that came from Berkeley originally.
Yes, absolutely.
And then when you say the goal is to launch, what do you mean by launch? Like to spin those companies out to get them to market, like officially?
I mean it in terms of, well, in the startup world, launching just means having a team
Yeah.
that's put together. having a technology that they're backing, and then having some funding, some initial funding.
Gotcha.
So with that said, we're incubating some technologies here at Berkeley Pharma Tech. And when we launch them, it just means that we're spinning them out so that they can be standalone
A
entities.
standalone entity. Okay, perfect. Yeah, now that's exciting. I'm really excited to see what you're doing there. I see all these kind of incubators we have on up here in Portland area. It's called Otrati with Oregon Health Sciences, and I see them in different pockets of the country. And it's just a lot more opportunities opening up for young people and that have creative ideas to spin off our. Now I know up here a lot. Sometimes they'll help with funding as well, and I saw that's what you're helping with too. Like help it's everything, the entirety, not just picking like different founders, but you're also helping them with funding and how to get access to funding and how to write kind of the entirety of the process. It sounds like, right?
Yes, exactly. So as you may know, scientists who are aspiring entrepreneurs, they come to the space really enthusiastic with a lot of scientific expertise, and they're ready to dive in. Many of us, well, myself included, tend to be naive in that we underestimate how much time it's going to take to incubate a certain technology and to bring it up to the standards where investors are expecting it to be.
Yeah.
So having technology is one thing.
Yeah.
Becoming an investable startup, on the other hand, is another thing entirely. In biotech, it involves a lot of continuing education and then also heavy networking to find angel investors these days. It's not so easy. I mean, we have, entire spreadsheets of, I don't know, 1,000 angel investors or something. And when I try to dial the numbers or email them, nothing really comes back. So with that said, emailing is not the way to go about it. You need to show up in person to networking events to get to know people and get recommendations through your network of peers. And that is how a lot of things is still being done in biotech.
Yeah, that's such a key piece. Yeah, encouraging like founders to get out there. And that's something that I feel like a lot of scientists and young people in innovation, that's not really what they're most comfortable with all the time, is getting out there and networking with their technology. It's like you said, when I was at Stanford's biodesign program, that was really similar. It was a lot of amazing technology and ideas, but oftentimes people creating those, the path to market or the commercialization process isn't always what they're thinking about when they're in a lab creating a really innovative solution to solve something. Not necessarily thinking about how that's going to move forward or how to get the investment. So that's exciting that you're involved in that and coaching them on that process. And I need it. Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me, unless you have anything else that you care to share or what you're working on or what you're excited about there with the company.
Yeah, so we have been putting together resources for first-time founders in particular. And one thing that I'm excited about is that one of our partners, his name is Alan Udrich, he's written a book called The Thriving Biopharma Business, How to Unlock Value and Drive Success in Biotech and Pharma. And it's written by Alan Udrich and Jean-Noël Pellegrin. They're both French authors. I love their names. It sounds so good.
Yeah, it does. I think that was.
So,
Did you have that? I think that was on your LinkedIn. Did you have that book on there?
oh, yes, that's right.
Okay.
It was on my LinkedIn.
I'll have to check that out too. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat today, and I'm really excited to keep track of what comes out of Berkeley Pharma Tech and just the different companies that come out of there. And I'm excited that you exist and you're there helping some of these young people bring these companies to market and get new technologies out there to solve real problems. That's exciting to me.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah,
Thank you so much,
Christopher.
You've been listening to Stories in Life Sciences, sponsored by MedAccess AI, where we explore people, ideas, and breakthroughs shaping the future of biotech and healthcare innovation. To learn more, visit medaccessai.org and subscribe on YouTube to watch the full conversations and new episodes as they launch. I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep shaping the future, one story at a time.